I think that the growth of Chinese oil demand, that probably by 2020, around there, they'll be using as much oil as we are, particularly as we have peak demand in our country. And kind of, if you were in their shoes, you would be concerned about oil supplies. And I think if you go back 4 or 5 years, their sense of insecurity about it, because it happened very fast for them, was higher than it was today. They talked about the Malacca dilemma, about depending upon imports. My sense is that they're more confident today about their ability to deal with it, partly because they have the money they know they can buy oil. And I think we're seeing that the Chinese companies are going through a lot of they're changing, because not so long ago they were part of ministries, and they're sort of both report to the government, but they're also commercial entities. Clearly, as some in this room know, that they can be, they have checkbooks and can be very aggressive in terms of seeking new resources. But I think there are 2 things to keep in mind. One is that all of the oil production of China, outside of China, is less than 1 super major. And 2, people often lose sight that they actually are in partnership, often, not always, with Western companies. If you look at them in Iraq today, they're in partnership with Western companies. So it isn't exactly the zero-sum game that people think, but I think it is very important because it could be a relationship that could become seen as a zero-sum game. You know, I hear echoes in my mind of the Anglo-German naval race when I hear some of the discussions about a Chinese blue water navy. Certain Chinese announced that the South China Sea is a core interest. Core interest is a very, as you know, is a very key term. It refers to things like Taiwan. And then other Chinese officials come out and say, well, those were not authorized statements. And it's, you know, there's a kind of fluidity there, Chinese nationalism. So I think managing this relationship with China, both at a governmental level, but also to the degree possible, keeping it on the commercial level, is very important for both countries.
Do you think that China demand can drive up energy prices? Because their voracious demand puts an upward pressure on prices?
Well, the Chinese get very upset when you say that about that. But I think if you go back to, they say, what, me? No. But if you go back
the sheer numbers of it.
Yeah. Well, if you go back to 2004, I see that as a really pivotal year, because that was the year when OPEC met in Algiers in February, and the whole concern was that the oil price was going to collapse below $20 a barrel. And then the Saudi oil minister goes to China, and he sees this boom and realizes this is a different picture than I thought it was going to be. And that's when the prices started to just go up. And that's when it became clear that China really was not just a provider of low-cost goods, not just this lid on inflation, but it was a huge growth market. And clearly the Chinese growth in India, growth in the Middle East, those factors were part of this whole factor that took oil from $20 a barrel to $147 a barrel. There were other reasons too. There was disruption. There was Iraq. There was Nigeria. There was Venezuela. There was financial markets. There was the belief that the world was running out of oil. All those things were there. But on the supply side, on the demand side, we entered a different world in terms of oil demand around 2004.